This week in the bonus round, new Android consoles like NVIDIA's Shield, the Ouya, and GameStick. They've generated buzz, but will they threaten or just annoy the big console players?
Sony and Microsoft are going to come out and slap out their 800-pound gorillas, and these guys will be, unfortunately, a distant memory.
Join original Xbox co-creator Seamus Blackley, GT's annoyed gamer Marcus Beer, and Weekend Confirm's Jeff Cannata right now in the bonus round. Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new bonus round right here on GameTrailers. I'm Jeff Keighley. We're starting an all-new year here at the I Am 8-Bit Gallery in Los Angeles with an all-new panel to talk about the state of the video game business. First of all, glad to have him back. It's been a few years since Seamus Blackley has been on the bonus round panel. You are now president of Innovative Leisure. Seamus, it's great to have you back. Always fun to have your insights.
Always fun to be on camera with you, Jeff.
All right, well, thanks, Seamus. We'll get into it in a minute. We've also got Marcus Beer, of course, GameTrailers, Annoyed Gamer, and Jeff Cannata, you know, from Weekend Confirmed and Totally Rad Show and lots of other great internet projects you've been working on. First topic of the bonus round this time is there's been an amazing emergence of new consoles that we've heard about in probably the past 6 months. Obviously, it started with Ouya. We just heard about GameStick. At CES, we heard about NVIDIA's Shield. And although there's lots of rumors about a new Xbox, a new PlayStation coming this year, it seems these Android consoles or these non-traditional consoles have really emerged as a talking point in the industry. Lots of buzz about this Valve Steam box, what that's going to look like. Could be Linux-based. Seamus, you worked on the original Xbox. You were inside of Microsoft. You know this, the gaming industry and all the hardware providers. What's going on right now? I mean, I think it's interesting, but I think some gamers are wondering, where are the games for all these other things?
Yeah, well, what's going on is that gamers want great console games. And we've stopped seeing great console games. We've seen a lot of sequels come out. We've seen the pipeline slow down for big, great console games. Yep. And that gamer demand for great content is not going away. And as much as people have talked about the demise of consoles and the demise of that style of gameplay, the success of platforms like Ouya, their Kickstarter funding, shows that the consumers don't want that to go away. Right. And so I think you're seeing a lot of this, the new consoles and the new console businesses sort of dragged up by consumer demand. Yeah. And you're seeing the big guys for whom it's a very expensive game, I think, sitting by the sidelines trying to figure out just exactly where the chips are going to fall before they make their final decisions. I think they already have made their decisions, right. And we'll see what that holds. But I think the good news is, and the most important thing is, people want those games. People want that kind of high-def content. They still want games that they can play in their living room. They still want to be blown away by games on a high-def display with sound and all that kind of stuff. And they're willing to pay for it. So we'll see if the industry can actually still deliver that.
But things like an Ouya or a GameStick, I mean, Marcus, are these things really going to actually deliver, blockbuster games? I mean, they're Android-powered systems. I mean, something like an Ouya, a Tegra 3. I mean, it's going to deliver kind of, some good games, but it's certainly not going to, be at parity with what you're going to get in a high-end PC or maybe the next Xbox.
You just summed it up. I mean, these guys have probably a 3 to 4 month window to get people excited, and after that 3 or 4 months, Sony and Microsoft are going to come out and slap out their 800-pound gorillas, and these guys will be, unfortunately, a distant memory. I mean, they're all scrabbling for what they're trying to get. I mean, the problem is that you summed it up. It's not the AAA $60 experience that people want. It's not the Fallout. It's not the Skyrim. It's not the Call of Duty. It's not Borderlands 2. We're not going to get those on these consoles. And they've given us no indication that we can expect anything like this. I bought a Roku box yesterday for my bedroom so I could stream Netflix, and it came free with Angry Birds. And I think that's what it's going to be, where we're going to have these little boxes that can do some fun stuff that you can basically synchronize with your tablet. But seeing as most people have iPads anyway, I mean, they won't be syncing their iOS stuff with Android. So I don't know. I think people are getting in because it's a cheap and easy platform to develop for. But I think it's something that's, they've got the limelight now, and we're not going to see much of it. in 3 to 6 months' time.
One thing that I think some gamers respond to, with the idea of Android is that they're open systems, right? And it's you have closed systems with Microsoft and Sony. You have to get a developer license. You have to spend a lot of money. You have to pay them royalties. You look at Ouya, and they came out and said, hey, it's going to be a completely open platform. Anyone can develop for it. You can sell the game direct if you want. Don't even go through our store. Jeff, is that something you think that means something to gamers too, that they like the idea there's not going to be this sort of big brother controlling the system?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the excitement around the idea of a Steam box can also be attributed to gamers' confidence in Steam as a platform. Right. I think there's a lot of desire for the next big thing. We're late in this console cycle where I think there's this underlying desire for what's the next system, what can I get excited about. I think the Xbox 360 and the PS3 are showing their age, and there's a lot of this faith in what Steam offers as far as variable pricing, and Android's the same kind of thing. It's this idea that there's this bottom-up approach rather than top-down. And I think gamers can get excited by that until perhaps the next big gaming system comes out and you're looking at what real money behind something can produce.
There's a lot of good press in that, and there's a lot of stuff to get excited about in Android and the way that these open systems work. The flip side of that is that to pay guys, talented people to make really high quality stuff, you have to have some kind of assurance that there's going to be a marketplace and that you're going to end up making your money back at least when you make a game. And the thing that these open platforms have a hard time figuring out still is how that's going to work. Right. So the huge advantage that the established players have, despite all the royalties and the Big Brother and all that stuff, is that somebody's going to invest $50 million to make that kind of a game, has a reasonable expectation they're going to get their money back. And that's what really drives that content. And I think that there's a little bit of confusion right now amongst people about that fact. Yep. And the reason that you don't see huge blockbuster stuff coming out in places that don't have that kind of walled economy is because of that. Now, the Steam box is the exception to that rule, in that Steam is a well-established, well-proven, well-managed, economic environment that lets people, take risk on making new content and have some assurance that there's going to be, an ordered way for them to make the money back. And if any of these platforms has shown business teeth, it's that one for sure.
Well, I think the Steam box, as you said, is a completely different conversation from like a Game Stick or an Ouya or a Shield, because as you said, those platforms, you're not seeing EA or Activision jumping on board saying we're making 6 games for Ouya. But as you said, when you look at Steam box, they've got millions of people playing, publishers making a lot of money off that. It seems like this is the year we're going to see a Steam box or a reference design or things like that coming out from Valve. Seamus, what's your take on...
Well, but I think even more importantly than any of that stuff is that Valve has customers who have paid for content, and the content is good, and they feel good about it.
Yep.
And so there's a business relationship with the customer around that, and that's incredibly important to emphasize. It's like having the business relationship that used to exist between theater goers and movie theaters.
Right.
You're going to go in and you're going to get entertained.
You're satisfied.
That's really important thing. That's a really important thing.
And as you said, they've got millions of them. So transitioning some of those people, to a box on their TV that may be satisfied PC gamers. Do you think?
And Gabe has spent a decade working at developing those relationships and being one of the guys, who takes all of the risk in proving the online commerce model and proving that you can, deliver content to people that's worth paying for it across a whole variety of prices.
Consumers feel confident because they have a wide variety of selection from small games to big games. And the wonderful variable pricing that they're doing, the Steam sales that you see all the time, where you can get these really great games for low prices for a short period of time, I think it's something that Microsoft and Sony should really learn from.
I think the fly in the ointment for me with Steambox, and I'm a huge PC gamer. I mean, I could have blown my mortgage on Steam sales over Christmas alone. It's the cost of the licensing, and we discussed this on Invisible Walls last week, where you're looking at a Windows 8 version or you're looking at a Linux version. Now, the Linux version is obviously going to be a lot cheaper, but only 30% of the games on Steam currently, I think, have Linux support. Okay. And I think that's going to be an interesting aspect. How do you convince the third-party publishers who are the lifeblood of Steam? Obviously Valve bring out these phenomenal games, but they bring them out once a year at best. Mm-hmm. How do you convince the guys who've also now got Origin, who have Uplay, to convert their games or make them Linux compatible so that you can support the cheaper end box, because the higher end box is going to be way more expensive because of licenses, and no matter how cool it is, I mean, the good, best, good, better, best options that they've got. I mean, the mid-range is still about $1,000, which is quite expensive for a console, and I can't see myself being interested in a Steam box until my current PC packs in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only problem. I mean, and we're obviously talking about the stuff at CES, which is more like Steam licensed stuff.
Right.
I mean, we haven't seen what Gabe has up his sleeve.
No, and they've said,
for
there
the
will
Steam
be
box.
a Valve,
Yeah.
endorsed or specific.
That's going to be the interesting one, how they manage to wangle that cost and how much software they can use to support. Because the great thing about having one box that you can then stream your games to 4 or 5 different TVs, fantastic. Big picture mode, fantastic. High fidelity stuff that's going to, looks way better than the PS3 or 360, great. But let's see what they can bring cost-wise and who is going to support it apart from themselves. Unless, of course, they make Half-Life 3 Steambox exclusive. And then, of course, everybody's going to buy it.
All right, hold that thought, guys. We're going to be right back after this.